News when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Nathan Hager.
And I'm Karen Moscow.
Karen, the lift in stocks around the world comes on optimism that trade tensions between the U.S. and China may be easing. China says it is assessing the possibility of trade talks with the U.S. It is the first sign since President Donald Trump hiked tariffs on Beijing last month that negotiations could begin between the two sides. We get more from Bloomberg News senior editor Bill Ferries.
It's really hard to know what's happening here or if it's the market really looking for any sign of a potential change, any sign that one side or both sides are simultaneously starting to blink here. I mean, China's Commerce Ministry said on Friday that it noted the willingness of some senior U.S. officials to talk about tariffs. On the other hand, you've had the U.S. saying that they want China to reach out, that China can't sustain these tariffs for very long. This latest statement doesn't seem that different on the Chinese side, but it is being taken as perhaps an olive branch that could allow both sides to maybe save some face and start talks, even if that's at a lower level.
Nathan, we have some breaking news crossing the Bloomberg. TikTok owner ByteDance has been fined $600 million by the European Union for illegally sending user data to China. Ireland's Data Protection Commission, the company's main regulator in Europe, warned TikTok it didn't do enough to keep information out of reach from Chinese state services.
Back here in the U.S., Karen, let's turn to politics now, with the White House set to release its first budget request of President Trump's second term. The so-called skinny budget will call for $557 billion in non-defense spending. That is a nearly 23% drop from current levels. National security spending, meanwhile, would rise to a record $1.01 trillion. That's a 13% increase. Administration officials say the budget includes significant cuts to environmental programs, foreign aid, the Education Department, National Institutes of Health, and Housing and Urban Development. The military boost would pay for the Golden Dome missile defense, as well as shipbuilding, border security, and a military pay raise. It's not clear how the budget request would handle entitlements. They represent the bulk of federal spending.
Nathan, the president has signed an executive order to end federal funding of public broadcasters NPR and PBS. And Bloomberg's John Tucker joins us with the latest. John, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Karen. Well, the move shouldn't really come as a surprise. Back in March, President Trump was asked if he had any plans to yank funding for NPR and PBS.
I would love to do that. I think it's very unfair. It's been very biased with the whole group. I mean, the whole group of them.
Well, Republicans have long sought to eliminate funding for NPR and PBS. PBS is set to take the larger hit. The broadcaster relies on federal funds for about 16% of its overall budget. In New York, I'm John Tucker, Bloomberg Radio.
Okay, John, thanks. The other major story out of Washington is a shakeup in the West Wing. President Trump is naming his national security advisor, Mike Waltz, to be the next UN ambassador. Back in March, Waltz admitted mistakenly adding Atlantic editor Jeffrey Goldberg to a Signal group chat about attack plans in Yemen. Now, if confirmed by the Senate, Waltz will move out of the Oval Office and to New York and UN headquarters. The president says Secretary of State Marco Rubio will serve as interim national security advisor. Rubio is also leading the U.S. Agency for International Development after it was targeted for cuts. He is also the acting head of the National Archives.
Nathan, President Trump is putting new pressure on Iran. The president says he'll impose secondary sanctions on nations or companies that buy Iranian oil. He posted on social media, quote, "They will not be allowed to do business with the United States of America in any way, shape, or form." Negotiations over Iran's nuclear program hit a wall this week. A meeting that had been set for tomorrow was postponed, and U.S. officials said they never agreed to take part in the latest round in the first place.
Let's turn back to markets now, Karen. Futures are higher following 8 straight gains for the S&P 500. Of course, we mentioned the U.S.-China trade optimism earlier, but two stocks not participating in the rally are Apple and Amazon. Apple shares right now are down nearly 3%. The iPhone maker's earnings report failed to soothe investor concerns about its biggest challenges, escalating tariff costs and a slowdown in China. Apple CEO Tim Cook addressed the impact of the trade war.
Assuming the current global tariff rates, policies, and applications do not change for the balance of the quarter and no new tariffs are added, we estimate the impact to add $900 million to our costs.
Apple CEO Tim Cook says sales from China fell more than expected, 2.3% to $16 billion in the second quarter. Analysts say that shortfall is an ominous sign for what was once a growth market.
And that's news when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Karen Moscow.
I'm Nathan Hager, and this is Bloomberg.